Sorry to keep you waiting, everybody. Welcome back to February's AGE Open. I'm Mitch Leslie here, joined by Sam O'Byrne. Last round of Swiss. So large is our attendance today that we needed 7 rounds of Swiss to cut the top 8, which is great for us and great for you at home. And the players, I'm sure, are enjoying it, but I'm quite sure that fatigue is about to set in. I don't mean the Charles Dunn variety. I mean the actual, I'm bloody tired variety, but I've got to play for top 8 like our competitors in this next match.
Yeah, we've got a couple people sitting right at the edge. They're trying to get in. Let's take a look at these two incredible competitors.
Cronyism!
I know one of them. That might be what you're referring to. This is Aidan Kwasneski on Dash. Inventor Extraordinaire, my flesh and blood, my cousin. Ynez Navarez on Bravo Showstopper. So this is going to be a good game. I know Aidan definitely has learned quite a bit. He's been playing Dash. He was in the very first stream of the the very first stream ever of AGE Open. Aidan was playing Dash Inventor Extraordinaire in a Dash mirror back in those days. He's played a bunch of Bravo. He definitely liked the old him matchup back when that was more of a legal thing in this game. But the Bravo, because of that activated ability, being able to dominate, it's a little bit of a tougher go for the Dash players, and Ynez is definitely going to try to dominate her way to victory in this game. Aidan definitely playing a hybrid package, not going full pistol, not going full boost, going to definitely try to leverage the plasma purifiers and the induction chamber, and you have to imagine that Ynez is just going to try to dominate as much as possible and finish this game as quick as she can.
Yeah, I mean, Aidan wants to thin his deck of defense reactions and non-mech cards in the first cycle. That's really important. Play defensively, try and eat up these large attacks, and then you will have an opportunity to pivot and have more consistency on your boosts once you've gotten those D-reacts out here. So not like dissimilar to a Guardian's way of playing, where often that first cycle is throwing a lot of them D-reacts out and sort of pitching your reds away, keeping them in the deck here. So in the past and more commonly, the Bravo versus Dash matchup looks like a Dash that's playing full pistol package, right? Bravo then has to try and, break through that with smashing good time and stuff like that and try and avoid that sort of deterministic endgame state where, Dash is throwing like these lots of these massive pistol attacks. I think Aidan's on 1 induction chamber, 2 plasma purifier here, so never going to fully develop that kind of board. And Ynez, and the deck list from Ynez, a couple of interesting inclusions. I think there's Humble in there, which is fun, and in some matchups it's absolutely filthy. Boulder Drop in there at blue, which we don't always see, so that's always fun. But again, very much a Bravo list. I would not call this like a fatigue-oriented Bravo list from Ynez. She does have some number of sinks here, but there's no red staunch responses in this particular list here. This is a really deck that wants to go hard and fast. It doesn't play Tunic, so there's no sort of indication that we're going to see that sort of value-oriented Bravo plan on every third turn. Throw a sort of a 1-card 8 rather with the Tunic. Very much, this to me is pretty salt of the earth Bravo style,
sure. With the tectonic plating definitely falling out of favor in just these classic Bravo lists. You look back to Worlds and some of that Wolfpack Bravo list that they really propagated and took to some pretty good success over these last recent tournaments. Michael Hamilton, Michael Fung, piloting that deck and bringing it to the forefront of a lot of people's minds. But Ynez definitely going to go ahead and just opt for the tectonic plating here and the Anothos. So I wonder, does that favor Aidan a little bit if he's facing a little more of just these 2-card make a seismic surge 6s and he doesn't have to block with that many cards, can look for his items, if Ynez is not throwing these big 4-for-8s every third turn, or is she going to be able to utilize those cards for dominate more? We're going to have to wait and let the game play out and tell the story.
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. I actually think it's how that has a lot to do with how the game state settles over the first few turns here. If Ynez can open up a lot of these sort of wider turns with Rouse and Zealous and stuff, that starts to become a little bit scary for any sort of player. Big shout out to Mara Faris in the chat. Our top 8 is absolutely fascinating. We have a Tekla Vossen in top 8. Charles Dunn, I believe, is in that top 8, but suffered a loss on stream against Kasai as Colin Eriksson was able to raise an army and throw those cell swords. But we're into the game here straight away. Aidan, maybe looking to load up a little bit here as he's going first.
Yeah, I wonder if he won the die roll. Bravo would be happy to go first off in with a bunch of blues, activate that hero ability, and just come in swinging. Looks like Aidan's going to be able to activate the counters on the pistol and the induction chamber. It looks like he might have a defensive card ready to just plop into the arsenal right away. See if he wants to
reinforce the line there.
That's a good one.
So load. Arsenal a card here, draw up. There's a 0 to 60, I think more of the blue variety, if I'm not mistaken, in hand here. But so Aidan Perfectly respectable turn. T-bone, sink below, drawn up here. So again, thinning the deck of those defensive cards in the first cycle is pretty reasonable here. Ynez not able to dominate a Bravo attack, but opening with a Zealous Belting doesn't suck.
No, certainly not. 5 go again. You know, these Bravo lists. Looks like she's on E-Strike as well. So some of the best ways to get the go again in this list, the Zealous Beltings, the E-Strike, the Rouse, the Ancients. And Ynez definitely going to be wanting to put on the pressure here. Let's see if Aidan wants to throw down any of those defensive cards. He'd probably like to chain the Reinforce the Line into that Sink Blow in the arsenal, but you also want to make sure you utilize it on a Bravo activation or something where you wouldn't otherwise get to block with cards. And Ynez definitely not posturing like she's going to activate Bravo on this turn.
Again, you can stop a crush effect with one card plus that reinforce. So I don't see a problem with Aidan looking to part with the Sink at some point this turn. But Aidan more thinking towards what follows this Zealous Belting. There's still 2 cards in hand. More likely this is like a CNC Anathos kind of looking thing. A little bit awkward, but again, Reinforce the Line answers the threat of CNC pretty effectively. Or Aidan could just opt to throw those 2 of those sort of, attack actions. Yeah, I like this much better, right? Eat that up, keep 2 cards. Arsenal that Sink.
Absolutely.
Continue to play like a bit of an attrition game with 2 pistol shots here. And I did say that there was a Tekla, I believe, in top 8. Connor Davenport was also able to take down Charles Dunn on his Fatigue Bravo list because, Tekla Vossen, the Necropotent, is pretty disgusting if you can assemble the pieces.
Absolutely. Our national champ went 4-0, currently, I believe, into 4-2, so fighting for his tournament life out there. Not sure what his matchup is, but, it's not easy in these streets for him to necessarily.
Baby. That's right. Okay, possibly the most nightmarish matchup for a Fatigue Bravo deck to walk into, that Tekla Vossen one. I don't know how that plays out. That seems rough. Here comes some pistol action here. Aidan going to be pitching, I think, that blue T-bone to fire off.
Couple more points of damage. Ynez have to think about. Looks like just going to take it, go down to 36. Ynez was not able to establish an arsenal on that last turn, so going to have to see exactly how much pressure she can put on that Sink Blow and arsenal. We're going to keep close eye on it, see if it stops a crush effect at a critical point. Aidan hasn't been able to find an item, which means he is going to draw them at some point, and that does mean eventually there's going to be a no block in that hand.
Okay. Blue disabled there, Thunk in the hand. Looks like it's like a Rousey Agents into potential Anathos turn here. Yeah, a lot of blues to deal with. So
a lot of blues to deal with. Aidan, is he going to be comfortable if those are all mech cards, just laying down 12 block and just saying pass on over, knowing that this is going to be a pretty vanilla turn for Ynez, wanting to keep that Sink Blow in the arsenal? He has to be aware of his cards in deck as well.
Bearing in mind, Aidan was able to see the remainder of that hand, has full information here about what will follow. Neither of those cards in Ynez's hand are great candidates for arsenaling. But one of them is going to go there anyway. So make a surge. And Bravo dominates.
Just to continue to pitch into the ability, just to make sure all the resources are used, I guess.
Yep. No good arsenal targets, like I said. You just Blue Thunderquake getting stuck there would be a bit pointless here. So Throttle thrown out there to block by Aidan. And probably not feeling too upset about how that turn has gone. Definitely hoping, though, to start to assemble that pistol package a little bit more, at least the truncated one that he likes to rely on here.
Absolutely. If that is the blue left in hand, going to be able to threaten 4 damage and most likely end the turn with the counter back on the induction chamber. That's going to feel good.
Here it is. Load pistol, shoot pistol. Clock in, clock out. It's honest flesh and blood, folks.
Ynez does look like she's showing us a Sink Below there in the hand. Might be a good arsenal target for her. Both Sink Belows can stare at each other from under the table.
Exactly.
I see you over there.
Lady in the Tramp moment, sort of,
Oh, look at
share
this.
some spaghetti.
Gonna just go ahead and throw the Sink Below on a pistol for 2. So if that doesn't tell you how Ynez wants to get this game going, this will give you a good indication. She is not really wanting to make this game go long. She understands that Aidan's going to be presenting these items later in the game. She's trying to go again. She's trying to find, dominate, or else why throw the Sink Below there? She's looking at it as much for the filter as for the defensive value.
And these 2 players are walking each other's life totals down, and a lot of that is because Ynez has found Zealous and Rouse, right? Obviously, there's 2 more copies of each of those cards in the deck. That's where a lot of your go again is going to come from. But it means that Ynez is playing off Arsenal a lot of the time. Last turn, it was intentionally, right, pitching to Bravo just to sort of try and filter through a lot of these sort of blue cards. There's a Spinal Crush in hand here, which is nice. Another Rousey Agents, a Starstruck there as well. So Rouse definitely needs to be pitched here. We'll get a Seismic Surge. And do we send a Starstruck here? I don't know if it really bothers Aidan too much to see that, but
yeah, Seismic Surge active, so the first Guardian attack action is going to be discounted by the 1. That's Spinal Crush. Looks like it's going to be the target.
Sink and Arsenal here for Aidan. And a card from hand would account for that handily and just cause him to take 2 chip damage.
Could also just throw the 2 cards from hand, keep the sync for a Bravo Dominate.
Dominate, yeah.
If you're wanting to worry about that, I think Aidan is aware that that is how he's going to lose the most, kind of consistent chunks is through those dominated attacks.
It's such an easy trap to fall into. Again, yeah, I do respect it. I mean, I suppose, yeah, it's very tempting sometimes to throw your defense reactions against these undominated attacks when you could just give some cards. If you're running, a fat enough deck and have enough to work with here, then yeah.
And the other thing for Aidan here at this early point in the game, we've seen a couple non-met cards. We also haven't seen many of these items. And look at this. We're going to give the Quicken because, of course, the Go Again is going to be utilized immediately unless Aidan wants to bank it here and not have to basically have 2 Go Agains on a future turn. That's kind of interesting.
Pass here.
And it looks like he's going to go ahead and, load up. And are we going to shoot with the Quicken? Yes, we're still going to get the 2 damage across. Perhaps not have a counter left for the induction chamber,
right? Yeah. Well, what do you do? Do you load pistol and go for it again and squeak a bit of extra damage in, given that your opponent is
this is going to have the Go Again, so you're able to utilize the 1 on either.
All right.
And just shoot it again.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Pretty good actually for Aidan, finding listen, if you're going to give me extra Go Again, I can use it. I got 3 floating.
It essentially nullifies the civic steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
That blocked for 2 and gave a Quicken, which Aidan was able to make use of to get 2 damage of his own. So I'm not feeling terrible about that. And my opponent's temper gear now is kind of getting thrown for not a whole lot.
And Aidan is nicely able to find fair amounts of damage throughout this game and not be worrying about boosting because there's a lot of non-met cards left in the deck, and he hasn't found the items yet that he needs to develop, so he doesn't want to boost those away either.
Is this enough to tempt you to throw in the sink?
It is extended art.
It's dominated.
It is extended art.
And it's extremely obviously intimidating pose, but no on here. It's just a vanilla H dominate here.
Yeah.
I think Aidan has reinforced the line in hand, and if we're still priced into thinning our deck of some of these generics, you may.
That's another juicy arsenal target though for Aidan. He's probably feeling pretty good, but at a certain point has to find Spark of Genius. Might have found one in the hand here, but has to find a Spark of Genius and enough pitch or the item off the top to develop, or else you have to imagine just 2 into 2 throughout the game isn't going to quite get the job done when you're staring down Dominate.
Does 3 into 3 feel much better? I guess that your opponent's more inclined to block that, right?
I think you're trying to get to 4 into 4, but you have to wait a couple. You have to find a way to get there.
A sink is being reached for here. Aidan's like, I'm really just preserving life at this point. Yeah, clear the arsenal. We'll take 4, and we'll keep walking these life totals down. And Aidan, as this happens, of course, like you mentioned, wants to find some of these other components to really build his Necropolis.
Yes. Yeah. Keeping 4 cards in hand is Mr. Kwasneski. He's going to go ahead and let's load up these pistols. Let's see if he's able to, what kind of damage he's able to throw. He might be just kind of trying to develop with that Spark of Genius if it is in the hand on this turn anyway.
Yep.
And make sure he keeps that, reinforce the line for the arsenal for later.
And that is that a spark? It is a Spark of Genius here. We are pitching 4 into that, which means we're going for a 2-cost item from the deck, and I don't think anybody needs any hints to know what Aidan is going to be digging for. A Plasma Purifier. Most likely.
Absolutely, yeah, just the 1 induction chamber. So Aidan has told me, he said, listen, all I need are the 2 chambers, or the 2 purifiers, the 1 chamber. If I get the 1 Go Again, I'm going to be able to slowly chip enough damage through. He's already lost 10 points of life, so a quarter of his life gone, and used, 3 defensive pieces at the very minimum, but still has that reinforced line for the arsenal.
I think over a longer game, in using to the law of large numbers, I'm not favouring Ynez's position here because she has lost a counter on her civic steps for basically nothing, right? She's allowed Aidan to attack him with a pistol. She's also sunk a pistol shot, for example. Maybe, you're not going to get a ton of value out of those cards on this first cycle here, but if you're aware that eventually those 0 to 60 reds are going to come at you once the deck thins out a bit, maybe they're worth just pitching away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see how she wants to go this turn. That's going to be, is that a
out
muscle, I think blue out muscle, which we can check. Yep, going to be a blue out muscle pitched with an imposing visage. This is what we were talking about, just kind of a casual Anathos for 6. 2 floating, though, 2 cards in hand.
Yeah, representing a little bit of a pummel here.
Vanilla damage.
But we know that Aidan has the antidote for that, so he'll block 6 and then reinforce the line will eat the pummel up. It comes in, red pummel, and Aidan says, how about these apples?
Yeah, a little reinforce the line. Such a good card from the arsenal. Get that. A beautiful reprint as well in heavy hitters.
Yep.
Shout out Alice for turning that card from dollars to cents.
Yep, it's dirty. I've lost more than one actually limited game to that card. It's pretty darn good.
Without a doubt.
Oh, is that Oh, a plasma purifier from the hand from Aidan.
All right, Aidan is set up now, folks. He has really found the
This is his
items.
Roman Empire.
Yeah, exactly. And at this point, he's just got to be worried about boosting away those defense reactions. So boosting can still be dangerous because when you lose the defense reaction, not only do you lose go again, but you lose such a key defensive piece. But now he's found the items that are his win condition. So he's definitely able to make some certain more informed decisions as he moves forward in this game.
Both these players may still be live for top 8, pending how that sort of shakes out here. Bravo activation, and Aidan already got rid of that reinforced line. Here's the crippling.
Is huge, right? Because we've had nice turns with those reinforced lines in the arsenal. However, on this turn, Aidan off of an arsenal, but I think maybe found an unmovable. Which, if he gives an equipment block,
that would be
enough to stop this discard.
So it would be what, 6 from hand. You need 2 more block there to stop the crush.
You got the Foundry Heart, you got the Crown, you could technically put the plating and Brillo up one of your items, but that's not going to happen.
No way you do that.
So most likely, all right, I have to imagine we're going to see something like a Teklo Foundry Heart plus the Unmovable to get over this Dominated Crippling Crush. But we're going to have to wait and see exactly how Aidan wants to work through this one.
Aidan previously going up against Leon, obviously a ramp Dory heading towards top 8 and falling, unfortunately, to a Steel Blade Shunt on a pistol attack there, but really electrifying matchup, and Aidan spent a lot of time in the tank here. Very good at using every second available to him. So reaching for that Foundry Heart here. Yep. Looks like he sees the same line.
Yeah, he's got to figure out that Unmovable is such a good card for the arsenal. You do get that extra point of block, but you don't want to lose 2 cards to this Crippling Crush. So move to the reactions. We're going to go ahead and throw the Unmovable down.
Okay, and look, I mean, if there's some blue density here in the hand, which I think there might be, this turn is completely reasonable from Aidan. Yeah, leaking damage to this as you'd expect, but this is these 2 players sort of walking their life totals down. Bearing in mind, we haven't had to load the items, so these are unloaded, all of Aidan's items, so we need to get them locked in.
All right, let's see. Can these pistols start to put in work now that we've got these 2 purifiers? We've been just seeing 2 into 2. We're about to start seeing 4 into 4 here, Uber, and that's certainly more threatening.
2 blues is good for this, right? You got
Absolutely.
2 blues. Okay, a yellow.
Yellow. Still going to do some work, though.
Acceptable, absolutely. Lets you load, have a resource available to load pistol once more here. So here it comes. 4 damage across the board. Dash's game plan fully in motion now.
Is Aidan going to be able to find any more of these defensive cards to hit the arsenal before the next Bravo activation? That was a really clutch draw of that Unmovable. But from this point forward, he's going to have to find a way to establish a defense piece in that arsenal, or else Bravo's activations are going to become much more disruptive.
Because at this point, Ynez says, I have to fold you into a pretzel at this point. I cannot afford to be giving cards to block pistol attacks. I will not have gas, especially, if I'm playing off arsenal on any of those turns to stop you. So I need to nail you now.
Let's see. Ynez got definitely some blues in hand. Seismic Surge going to pop.
What do we see there?
Sable, Buckling Blow, yeah. And we are going to go ahead and just make... every time she goes for that, it looks like she's hitting the Bravo activation.
Okay, wider turn here. For Aidan, I guess, there's still an inflection point here because, probably forced to block across like a Zealous and Anathos play potentially here. Decent amount of damage. Aidan with a defense reaction in hand. Still wants to be able to load his stuff. And obviously you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you need 5 resources to sort of do the thing, which obviously is 2 cards at minimum.
Look, Aidan would love to park that D-React in the arsenal. The question is, how much life is he willing to trade to do so, and how much tempo and, ability to load his own items and actuate his own game plan is he willing to give up to do so. Yeah. But that Sinking Arsenal represents such a key defensive piece against this Bravo hero ability. 5 damage with the go again. Aidan saying no blocks and just going to head on down to 23. You are nailing it. They are certainly just like Texas 2-stepping down. Their life total is going down one by one right after the other. This is just going to be, looks like a debilitate coming in.
Aidan happy to give probably 2 cards here for this one. Yeah, he cannot fully load his pistol if he does that because he probably just put his Sink in arsenal. So it might be just maybe not even a Plasma Purifier activation on this kind of turn. You need, obviously, a blue will give you the 2 pistol attacks, but you may not be able to sort of buff it at all. Let's see what the plan is here, Aidan. Okay, does load a Plasma Purifier.
Yeah, he's just going to load up.
Okay.
load up the arsenal, load up those items. He understands the game plan. He's going to wait and see exactly when Ynez takes a little bit of a stumble.
Yeah, I mean, Ynez is playing off Arsenal, and Aidan was able to Arsenal defense react. So you're less concerned about like the crackback that might involve a Bravo activation. That's not a given if your opponent's only on 4 cards. And even if they can do it, that defense react will get you a long way towards covering up the crush effects. It means that Aidan doesn't need to keep as big a hand to hit twice with that pistol for 4.
And now that he's loaded up the items, just one card will put in a lot of work here.
Yep.
Let's see what Ynez is able to string together here off of an arsenal, as she has been all game. She's been really trying to put the pressure on.
Aidan obviously checking the graveyard here. Technically, you cannot reorder your or your opponent's graveyard at certain RELs. So something to bear in mind here if you are ever in a position like that.
I'll make sure to go and let the judges know. We'll get him disqualified.
That's it. Game loss immediately.
Just make sure he
Cronyism nullified.
Out of there. Zealous belting number 3, I believe, in this game. This is going to be getting go ahead and block. Buy a block from Aidan. That's Sprocket Rocket. 2 damage coming across. Ynez now ahead in life.
Oh, this turn has some girth. Okay, E-strike for 7. Aidan says, cool, cool. I will give you 2, perhaps.
Yeah, it's got a number of cards, a bunch of blues, which looks like he's going to be able to still do a good amount of cracking back. Going down from 21 to 20 here, but going to be able to utilize those pistols quite effectively. And once again, Ynez off of an arsenal, so you have to imagine that she's really trying to just kind of keep the pressure on, utilize all her cards effectively, but without, holding something like a pummel, holding something like a big red attack for Bravo. It's going to be hard for her to get the most value out of what Bravo can do.
I think the pummels are going to get really important as this game goes on, because you need to find a way to just make it half a dash to load everything back up again. Now, though, I mean, despite the sort of discussion in chat about it, all of a sudden these defense reactions, they're actually covering this adequately. They're blocking efficiently. Again, do they play into the Bravo's plan here? Perhaps not, but Bravo's able to sideboard in here all of those sort of more aggressive, those sort of go wide cards here. So we have a Fate Foreseen trigger here, and Aidan, of course, looking to come in once more with that pistol and Arsenal a card.
Ynez here keeping 3. One of them we can see is that cheeky little pummel hanging out.
There's a boulder drop in the hand as well. Okay, pitching that. Pummeled Anathos here. Again, Aidan, last time we saw this play pattern, Aidan had the perfect answer in that reinforce the line.
I believe we do have, I think, a sync in the arsenal
and
again.
He pummels.
And we sing.
All right, beautiful. Aidan has now effectively dealt with all copies of Pummel in Ynez's deck, which is a big deal. Now, the rest of these D-Reacts can happily be used to sort of, stop these dominated attacks from Bravo. And it's a sigh of relief for you, because Aidan says, I mean, getting that in my arsenal is so good. I can come around on my turn with 2 cards. We're doing it again. We're pod racing now. We can absolutely load everything up here. Get 2 attacks for 4.
And Aidan doesn't have to worry about facing down something like a Command and Conquer with 2 floating with that D-React sitting in the arsenal. So there's a delicate balance, right, of wanting to make sure you keep a D-React for the Bravo's effect, but not wanting to be stuck with it when something like a Command and Conquer can come down with the pummel backing it up and make a turn look quite scary here.
4 again, Ynez, and he'll be looking to get very used to this particular play pattern. We're going to be taking 1 here, and eventually this war of attrition now, Dash starting to settle into it a bit more comfortably. We're going to get that go again on that pistol. And another blue in hand. Beautiful. Low.
2 no blocks that we were very happy for Aidan that we weren't stuck with when
huge.
it mattered. Yeah,
They are pitch stacked together.
100%.
And there's, I guess, you have copies of Spark of Genius left, right? You have 3,
Definitely,
so you could, if you want to shuffle your deck, I guess you can go pull out a Tekla Core or something like that.
Yep.
That's one way you would inoculate yourself. If we even get to that sort of next cycle, right? Yeah, the game
I was about to ask. I wonder if we're even getting to that point. Both players here at half their life or below. How much pressure is Ynez going to be able to keep putting on? Because you think at this point, Aidan's going to eventually, like you said, win that war of attrition.
Reinforce the line, going to go a long way to that effect as well. Now, Terrace under Crippling in the hand here. Now, how resource? Oh, and it's CNC. Ugh.
Oh yeah, that's.
I don't like to see that. Maybe you just send a raw CNC here.
But with no arsenal, how excited are you to be throwing a 2-card 6 that does nothing, giving Aidan an easy couple blocks?
What's your alternative? Because you sure as hell can't Terrace under the Anathos,
Yeah, for sure.
There it is. Good old 2 for 6. Aidan obviously being off an arsenal, but doesn't need to keep that many cards anymore to execute his game plan. He wants to block with 2 cards a turn cycle.
Yeah. I think things are lining up really nicely for Aidan, right? He's been able to
Except
find...
the glasses on his face.
Yeah. Other than his own glasses, like flashing the camera just a little bit. Other than that, he's finding basically a D-react to turn every turn or every other turn. They're not clumping together. He's able
getting him out of the deck.
Yeah, he's getting them out of the deck. He's establishing them in the arsenal. He's playing them when he needs to. He's checking the graveyard. And Ynez hasn't been able to really establish any big threats in the arsenal to utilize Bravo's effect. This Crippling Crush might be the first time we're able to see that really put to great effect. But if Aidan's able to keep that reinforced, again, that might go quite a long way.
Right, Aidan already with, the induction chamber and a purifier loaded doesn't have to necessarily keep 2 blues here if he doesn't want to. So if he wants to develop a D-react in Arsenal again, which would be really recommended, of course, at this stage. And high octane throttle used to be blocked there. Happy with this is Aidan, and reinforced line, of course, doesn't have to be in Arsenal.
And another no block, just being able to be pitched. So you have to imagine a Sparky Genius is going to try to shuffle those things around eventually. Or again, if Aidan's not really concerned about that second cycle, thinks the game's going to be over beforehand. But it might be nice to know that those 3 no blocks are basically right together. But the question, if you do get there and it matters, that will just be the end of the game.
It would be, it'll all be over there and then. So here it is. So joining that Tear Asunder in hand is a Enlightened Strike. Straight away, Ynez wants to part with that one. Crippling in Arsenal. If there's enough blue density here, you can deploy that attack. Aidan is doing it. Look at all the... And he's lined them up for us as well. So we can count the D-reacts along with him. Yeah, he's... I think he's started to realize, hang on, I might be safe to start boosting here.
That is a huge part of how these dashes eventually do kind of switch it up on their opponents. All of a sudden, they start boosting out and utilizing their pistol shots. And sometimes these Guardian opponents are like, wait, that's not fair. You're not supposed to be doing attack actions.
What?
I thought these were just pistols.
Exactly. Oh, goodness. All right. Another pistol shot there. Arsenal. Yep, there it is. That reinforcer line went to Arsenal.
And she took that additional 4, right?
I think so.
So it should be 13 to 20 here.
13 here. Ooh. Aidan there. Okay. He was at risk of losing his eyebrows into his hairline there. Decent trek, but that's okay. I share the same proportions.
And luckily, we have a 2-block in the Crown of Providence. We have the reinforce the line. We even...
I mean, my forehead's bigger than his, right? It's not, I can't, it's not an insult if it comes from me. Mine is gargantuan, really. My forehead, great size to catch these Dominator Cripplings, actually.
I was gonna say, yeah, just right on the chin. You talk about a shiny forehead. His whole body is just glinting in the sunlight there.
Just like Quicksilver, is meant to be.
11, dominate, thanks to the Seismic Surge and the Bravo Showstopper ability.
So we're gonna be blocking 8 here. Oh, D-react in hand.
D-react in hand, and again, reinforce the line in Arsenal.
Yeah, it needs to be equipment here. Aidan, before reaching for his Arsenal, will expend that last point of block on that Tekla Foundry Heart. And a reinforcer line would follow it soon. I mean, ending this turn with 3 cards?
Yeah,
that's just ridiculous.
And once again, having another defense reaction to park into the Arsenal. So Aidan here has to be happy with how his cards are lining up.
What do you think about the line from Ynez in which she E-Strike Go Agains into Crippling?
With the 2 blues, thanks to the Seismic.
Yeah.
That's certainly throwing on a little more pressure. It's not dominated, but at this point...
Still, right. It asks for a lot. Especially
what, she's down 3 more life at 10?
Yeah.
That starts to get tricky when you're facing down this item package.
That's true. You've got to freaking kill this Dasher. You've got to kill it. I don't know.
Here's 8 more damage and 2 floating to load up these pistols again. This is exactly how Aidan wants this game to be going. Still has 2 block left on the Crown of Providence, 1 block left on the adaptive plating, and again, a Fate Foreseen heading happily to the Arsenal.
That's every turn. I mean, it's been drawn up beautifully here by Aidan in this game.
But the question is, what happens? He's down to like 1 or 2 left of these pieces.
Yeah.
Between 1 and 3, if I could go through and count, but I'm more focused on watching this before us as another 4 is coming forward. But once those defensive pieces are out of the deck, will Ynez be able to throw together something disruptive enough? But she's already down to 9.
If Ynez throws something vanilla Aidan's direction on this next turn cycle and Aidan just doesn't block, I mean, it might be Jova. I mean, just go for it.
Tear Asunder headed to the pitch, activating Bravo.
Not vanilla, more Neapolitan. It is going to be a dominated Spinal Crush here. That's something that Dash does not want to have to deal with. There's an unmovable in the hand, though, for Aidan.
Fascinatingly, he could just give 2 pieces of equipment and a 3-block here
Yep.
and be uncrushed and save that Fate Foreseen in the arsenal.
Exactly.
You no longer have your equipment pieces, but you do have the Fate Foreseen. I wonder what Aidan's going to value
That's why
more.
it's so nice that he's like maintained these equipment into the late game and opted to play conservatively, give 2 cards for a lot of to stop a lot of these crush effects, and slowly work his way into the items which he then deployed here. So, you know, really well piloted by Aidan. I think one of the only Inventor Extraordinaire here at AGE.
100%.
Yeah.
There was 1 Dash Inventor Extraordinaire, 1 Dash IO, and 1 Teklovossin who is punched his ticket into the top 8. Evan Bridges could never.
All right, Connor Davenport, obviously, who has been a top 8 competitor. He's actually played in a grand final of an AGE.
Yeah, on Reinar, I believe.
On Brute, yeah. So was at the local I was at, as Marcus Brown also hails from the same local out there in Brea. Smaller store, but yeah, got some serious players out there. Shout out to the Shuffle and Cut gang. Okay, we got the Fate Foreseen. We got the 7-block here.
That's going to go ahead and
sinking.
Yeah, ship a card to the bottom. Nice if you know what you're going to at least not boost away if you do decide to boost on this upcoming turn. 3 cards left, 15 to 9.
You know what they say, Mega Monk? Better lucky than good, my friend. Here it is. The rubber hits the road. It's time to throw the zippy hit as Aidan is beginning to boost.
Yeah, oh, it looks like just a red there, so just throwing 5 vanilla, and I think once again has another D-React ahead to the arsenal. So at this point, he has just been finding...
Oh, yeah, no boost, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 per turn. This is just 5 vanilla damage. He's setting himself up to really just continue to chip away and have that D-React, a big ol' unmovable in the arsenal.
It's not just not enough, blues to play the pistol play in this round. This is fine. I mean, this is non-negligible now, as it will put Ynez 1 pistol shot away from death, so... She must block this. It's an Imposing Visage snuck in there.
Imposing Visage. We do have 1 block left on both the Crater Fist and the Civic Steps, and of course the 2 block for both players on the Crown of Providence. But that Civic Steps, we've seen, there's no real good time actually with this pistol package to give them a quicken, because if you're able to just use another floating to put it into the pistol, that's a pretty darn good use of a random Quicken token. Disable here coming in, threatening that arsenal, but not dominated, I don't believe.
No, it's just a blue disable. This is, I mean, again, this isn't vanilla. There's a relevant on-hit here to be sure, but this is probably... it's not a stumble, right? But it's definitely a turn where Bravo just cannot really get anything going. I mean, look at this. It was like a Macho Grande Cranial Crush. So, like, just an all blue hand featuring an Imposing Visage there. So you just keep the most relevant on hit that you have and send that. Spark of Genius in the hand there for Aidan. I think there's also maybe a T-Bone to work with as well.
We're going to be talking about a couple different stories no matter how this game goes. We're going to be talking about Ynez's somewhat the proclivity to just work off of 4 cards, just throw everything, not necessarily try to establish those 5-card hands, and not really necessarily even being able to. Just the cards she drew kind of pricing her into these types of plays.
Go second.
Yeah.
And then just,
do
a
everything,
lot of rouse or zealous type turns mean you don't really get to Arsenal.
Exactly. And then we're going to be talking about Aidan. The deck kind of sometimes it just has to line up nicely for you, and the fact that he's been able to just find D-React after D-React, not clumping them together, being able to get one out of the arsenal, put another one back into the arsenal, that is exactly what you need to have happen to get through this Bravo deck. These Sync Belows and these Fate Foreseens are covering up these pistol shots quite nicely, though.
It's a consolation where you probably don't feel like they advance your game plan in this matchup, having them in this deck, but now they are made relevant because your opponent is executing their plan against you.
And there you go, another 4 damage, bunch of armor block left over.
Yes, 3?
Going down to 3 here, saying, listen, I'm going to try to do something a little more threatening than your 4 damage on my turn to put myself in the driver's seat for the remainder of this game, because 3 is not a lot left to work with.
What if, Squire? What if deep within that arsenal lingers a defense reaction? Crippling here.
Well, if a defense reaction was in the arsenal, then nothing dominated scares our young mechanologist.
And our intrepid inventor now wants to assess the density of D-Reacts remaining in his
Now, here's the thing for Aidan. If he just blocks with 3 cards and uncrushes himself, he can just, if he has a blue, all of a sudden, he's threatening lethal with a single blue. The question is, don't even need to.
Unmovable from Arsenal, baby! Gets thrown out there as well, and that gets you there, right? Yes. That'll get you out of crush radius here.
Which means 3 cards left and 3 life for Ynez. Do we have a boost to finish this game? There's an Achilles Accelerator just happily sitting down. If this is a, 3-card or, a 3 pistol shot turn plus a boost card, that might be enough. I'm seeing in her hand. knee strike, a spinal crush. We'll have to wait and see.
An undeployable spinal crush. Red zipper hit. Boosting. Oh, Aidan! For the love of God!
Just immediately having to hit it. So there we go on the top of the deck. The Fate Foreseen. That might be the thing that starts to change the timbre of this game, folks, because that is not going to have go again naturally. The Fate Foreseen on top. I think maybe the last defense reaction in the deck for Mr. Kwasneski was on the top of the deck. Is that going to be the thing that closes this game or changes the direction of this game?
Having Achilles, though, that's fortunate. Aidan could still try and fight out of this position, or at least pressure a little bit more back here. Would have liked something a little bit wider. Crown of Providence here will sink away. Well, it's unclear. Maybe trying to...
Achilles, though, is often a way to like finish the game with a final pistol shot. A huge miss for the top. Aidan's deck has been so cooperative this whole game.
Yep.
You know, it had to just get one good little licking to make sure that it didn't all feel too good for our intrepid Inventor Extraordinaire.
We boosted. So Foundry Heart is online, going to give us a couple of those resources back here, and Aidan can continue to try and build that pressure here. Was that a blue debilitate drawn up there off the sink from the crown? It looks like it might have been. So E-strike in hand there for Ynez as well. Okay.
Each pistol shot with both of those purifiers active is going to go ahead and threaten lethal.
Yeah.
This comes in for 4.
Ynez might have to drop. Okay, yeah, okay. She may have to drop to 2 here.
Can you go ahead and give the final piece of equipment?
Okay.
Come in with one more attack for 4.
Turn very much salvaged by the presence of that Achilles accelerator.
Oh, without a doubt.
All right, yeah. Drop to 2. And, I mean, we might be asking a red attack on Ynez's turn here. So then Aidan is in a perfect position to close the game out. Can use a full hand in order to do so. Is that unmovable? No. Is it red? There's not red unmovable in this Ynez this year. All right, Aidan Kwasneski drawing up here. Has Ynez Navarez at 2 life. And let's have a look at that hand.
Each of these pistol shots without something like a D-React is going to go ahead and threaten that breakpoint. And those civic steps, the Quicken is game-breaking here because the Quicken is a whole nother pistol shot on this turn.
You can't afford that for 1 point of block. I mean, yeah, if it keeps you alive, that's all well and good, but it's 1 point of block to give 2 damage potentially. Here we go. Pistol for 4.
Aidan's making these moves with the precision and... oh, it is the unmovable, so it is going to go ahead and block out that pistol shot. Then going to come in with just the throttle. Top of the deck, Mechanologist card. 5 damage, go again.
Yeah, I mean, Ynez, I think, can stay alive at 1 here with 1 more pistol shot from Aidan. 6 block. Eats up the throttle. Aidan opts to load.
Yeah, because here's the thing. You have to stay alive with the Civic Steps, and the Civic Steps is going to give... Oh, no, you can just go to 1.
That's right.
This is the turn you can go to 1. All right.
But again, I mean... We're pretty done here. I mean, Ynez has had to just part with that entire hand now. So she has to draw up, and Aidan now has 2 pistol shot breakpoints plus a number of other boost attacks that he can deploy. Very likely, we're looking at more than 12 damage worth of value here from Aidan's hand.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is we got a lot of uncomfortable breakpoints now on this pistol. Unless we have another one of those 0 for 4s, you're going to have to get the Civic Steps involved, and then that's another 4 damage off the pistol. Civic Steps, powerful card, but not without its drawbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, better than Iron Rod, and that's why you're seeing it in these Guardian builds. So here it is once more. The Purifiers stripped of their counters, and yep, it's got to be thrown in here unless you want to give 2 cards. Ynez thinks, yeah, may as well. Otherwise, I'm just giving you a lot more damage because it's not just 2 damage you're giving now. If Aidan can load that pistol, we can go all day. 3 pistol attacks here, that would already be 12 damage. So mix it in. Why don't we just throw a blue zipper here in the mix? That'll get the Thunderquake to block from hand. What about another one? What say you? It's another card. And shoot you! Ynez is like, how did you do that?
Make sure. Had 3 floating boost.
You got whatever. Sorry. Are you guys? Okay. My bad.
And yeah,
I wanted to try it on,
That is going to be the game, as that final pistol shot is enough to do it. Aidan Kwasneski moving on to 5-2. He's right on the bubble. We're going to have to wait and see if he sneaks his way into top 8.
Yeah, look, great showing from Aidan. The losses that came up were also really hard-fought games. The only Dash Inventor Extraordinaire here at the AG Open Series for February. And I think it's worth maybe sort of talking about the Bravo list a little bit, right? Because we see the game plan from Ynez. It's pretty straightforward, right? but no value off those pummels. So no disruptive potential because they both got eaten up by a reinforcer line here, right? And really able to sort of live in two worlds of like play defensively, build up the pistols, and also like you see, like we are mixing in a couple of these sort of mechanologist attacks. Many are like yellow and blue, for example, but yeah, still able to put a sufficient amount of pressure down and win the game. For me, that kind of game was pretty textbook.
Yeah, that was some classic Flesh and Blood, some classic dash into Bravo if I've ever seen it, and also just like I think that's about as good as it goes for the dash player without the banishing of the fate for seeing that one turn. Like everything else lined up perfectly for Aidan there. He found the D-reacts when he needed, he had the blues when he needed, he was able to put the pressure on, and honestly for the Bravo player there, she didn't really find the texture and the timbre of the hand that allowed her to really set up nicely. She was just throwing everything she could most of the time, which left her without an arsenal, so made it hard for her to really get the kind of disruptive damage through.
What do you think about this? Like, what if there's a world where like the Bravo player is able to maybe have some off turns? Is there a world where like you can actually start to pummel these, these crush effects, right, and really force a lot of these disruptive effects? I know like Bravo dominating an attack and then pummeling is very hard to do, right? But it feels like with only 2 copies of pummel, which is not that crazy, right? Pretty standard stuff here. I feel like Ynez, even on those dominated attacks, couldn't break through all those D-reacts, and then she had nothing to do with her defensive cards really on that first cycle at all because the dash was not really incentivizing them.
Yeah, it worked out quite nicely for my cousin, my flesh and blood, and even though both players are, of course, have had incredible runs today, Aidan now sits right at the precipice. He was table 2 last round, which means he was pretty close among the X and ones, now sitting at 5 and 2, but that's the end of Swiss. We're going to have to wait and see exactly who makes it into our top 8. We can see Josh back there just with the little head nod saying, that's what's up.
Talking with Peter Budensic, who just walked past today, again, baffled by the number of the amount of decks with Kano hate. He's like, how do these people have room in their inventories for all these AB3
oh my
and
God,
Oasis?
He's had a tough day. That's the thing. I was talking to him, and I was also talking to Zane slightly about the difference between preparing for a tournament like this, where you're pretty steeped in the local meta. We have players coming in from Las Vegas, from San Diego, from Arizona, and of course Los Angeles. But we've had every time there are some brand new players, and everybody's excited to see some new faces. But there's also the familiar faces, the heavy hitters, the people that you're expecting to come to the AGE Opens if you live in the area. And there's 2 or 3 just badass Kano players that are always here. And they're often either top 8ing or very close to top 8ing. So players are kind of priced into bringing some Arcane Barrier if they don't want to just get blown up by the Kanos that always come. But that means if you're a Kano player and you run into the players that have thought that far ahead, you're going to have a bad time.
You're going to struggle, no doubt about it. So that is the end of our Swiss. We are 7 rounds of Swiss and then cut to top 8. So I think we're going to take a quick bit of a break. There might be a short dinner break here for our competitors before they head towards top 8. Before that, though, you can have a chat with Aidan. Maybe break down that last game.
Probably.
That sort of fell. Have a bit of a yarn, and then we will cut to a brief break and then on to top 8. So don't go too far. We will be back shortly. Welcome back here to the booth at the AGE Open for February. Mitch Leslie here, joined by our recent victor on stream, Aidan Kwasneski, of course, of 3 floating fame. Yeah, I tried to do the 3 floating song and no one got it. Did you get it? You did. You just laughed at me though, so I didn't know if that was awkward or. No, nobody gets references here. Oh, that's unfortunate. Anyway, but great game. I got to watch you in round 6, obviously, with a banger matchup, against Dory. I think we got Leon, I think it was, who was causing problems in that top 8. We can talk about that in a sec. But going up against Bravo, the first thing you said when you came into the booth was I was hoping for a Guardian today. Finally saw one. So Ynez, your first Guardian opponent that you faced today?
Yeah. First Guardian. The whole sideboard is kind of built around fatiguing out Guardians, just tempoing them out. Eventually, once I have all my items up, and I've gone through all my D-reacts, my health is just so high, I can start boosting and also have the whole pistol plan package, which is just it's crazy.
I think it's worth talking about because, and I mentioned this to you outside, quite often in the past we've seen dashes, they build sideboard space such that we're looking at 5 items, right? We're looking at triple purifier, double induction chamber kind of thing.
Too much.
So you're really hedging this a whole lot here. And we also see a lot of those matchups where Bravo has to bring this item destruction package and try and deal with that. Obviously, that's not something that Ynez builds here. But your game plan in the Bravo, it looked like get through these generics and D-reacts in the first cycle and then maybe have a smoother deck to boost? Yeah. Is that kind of the thing?
Yes, and it was super funny because the last card on my initial cycle was the Faithful Scene.
You boosted up?
I was like, bruh. But But yeah, I know that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I think that the 3, in the way that the current meta is right now, is perfectly enough. I think it was even enough when people were running some of the disruption. I think maybe you go up to 4 items just in case if one is busted, you're still at the 3. But yeah, I mean, if they're bringing those. If they're bringing that tech into their sideboard, I feel like it just weakens the deck's matchup into all the rest of the field. So, like, yeah, I think I'm one of 2 dashes here. So
yeah, but you're the only dash Inventor Extraordinaire.
Oh,
so the other one is a dash. So I talk about that as well because I think there's sort of in whispers, Dash is approaching Living Legend status right now. There's definitely a feeling like
RIP.
Yeah, like I'm sure you're wanting to get in as many games on her as you sort of can, but you're the only one who kind of made that decision today. So where do you think she actually stands amongst the field now, especially with like KO looking so strong and being so hard to mid-range against, for example? Victor also being a threat. As much as you like Guardians, does that matchup feel any different for you? Like, where are you at right now and how you feel about Dash?
I can only speak on those matchups very little because I haven't had as much experience playing into the new heroes. But in my head, Victor's just a worse Bravo because the thing that I'm most scared about with Bravo is if they come at me full aggro. And Ynez did a great job of throwing the go again attacks, those leak damage. I'm trying to get 3 value out of every blocking card in my hand just to keep my life.
Zealous makes very hard, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I don't want to lose the point of life blocking 6 there. So it forces me to leak damage. And then Bravo also has these huge powerful specializations that just are crazy. And obviously Victor's drawing cards, but once I get to my setup and he's giving me all that extra time with his block cards and not putting as much pressure on, I feel like it's the same result, right?
Sure.
And now theoretically my life is even higher because he's not presented as much damage. KO's tough though.
Right. Yeah. I mean, definitely my next topic, because it feels like if you try and 2-card block against him and sort of play like this mid-range style, he just ekes out more value than you because the Bare Fangs is for 9 and all this sort of stuff there. How do you feel like you have to play something fully defensive there? Do you can you race? Can you try and pound them? What's the plan?
I beat a Rhinar round 1 and I was on induction chamber start, but still trying to go boost. The induction is kind of you need that in those matchups where you're worried about the mid-game point where your opponent's like, oh, I can fatigue them.
Yep.
That just helps you.
It reminds them as well, I still got 4 damage here.
Also, sometimes, I'll lay out the induction, and a very common conversation with opponents post-game is you laid out the induction, I thought you were fatigued, so I was started playing to fatigue, and then you started going really aggro, and then I was trying to aggro with you, and then I realized, oh, wait, no, you're doing this, mid-range thing, so I love being in the mid-range pocket, but with KO, I think if I played it again, I did get it even with the induction, but it was very variance based, his fleshbag intimidate that
can mess
hit
you
me.
up.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I got there with that. I do think if I played it again, I would start Pounder and just full race because KO has a lot more non-blocks with those extra pulpings that are just the pearl that I love to see in the corner. So
when you drew up 3 items, is that
oh my god, I gave Uber such a look in the Dory game. I just stabilized, I just removed his counter, and I had my full item package out. I was ready to really take over the game and draw up, and it's literally 1 blocking blue, and then the rest is Techlocore, Pounder, Techlocore. And I literally played a Spark of Genius because I was like, oh my god, I have all these no blocks in my deck. I can get 1 Techlocore out and just have it out of the pitch stack, and then there'll only be 2 in there, and then out on the shuffle.
Yep.
There they are.
No good.
Yeah. But it was a really good game.
Well, I shit myself because you just stared down a counter Dawnblade. You were at 9 or something like that, 7.
Yeah.
And you just stone cold and no blocks. I'm just oh, sorry, what? I think it said a CNC after. No blocks, bro. Go on a 1. I'm is he going to win the game? His opponent's at 10. How is he going to do this?
Well, it's funny that you say that because actually, I think if those 3 cards are boost cards, there might even be a world where I actually still go for that play because I am at that state at that point in the game where I don't really have any defense reacts left in the deck. It's I could boost and probably strip all cards
Yep.
and then find a win from there. But yeah, no dice.
What do you? I mean, we got the meta breakdown. Have a look at that quickly.
Okay.
What are you kind of dreading as you look towards the top 8? Because the top tables, I think, are featuring. I think we see Kano there. I think there's like Charles Dunn is lurking with that fatigue Bravo list. There's I think one Duranthi, maybe Victor. We know Colin Erickson is on that Kasai list as well. Like. Any matchups you're particularly concerned about running into, in the event that you can, break in and not bubble out? We're assuming you will, right? Because it makes for a fucking better show. We also excuse my French.
Colin's a terrifying demon.
He's the SoCal Brody Spurlock.
Yeah, for sure.
He's unreal.
He's the wonder giant. He's so tall and kind and he's new to the game and he's a killer.
He's so good, man.
Yeah, I played him and that is the other loss that I have.
Okay.
So yeah, I would like to not run into Kasai. I think I have the right items in my sideboard, the right D-reacts. I don't know if it's race or if it's aggro yet. I just don't have enough reps in that matchup. So I mean, I'm going to try something different next time. I'm going to try a little bit more race because he was just putting the pedal to the metal. So I couldn't really keep up with that.
It's hard. Quickly, chance to talk about what obviously you're doing. For those that don't know, obviously Aidan is part of 3 Floating, one of our fastest rising sort of content channels in Flesh and Blood. What's come out for you guys? Because obviously the Fight Night's been fantastic. You guys have been super involved with those, putting out great content. What can we expect from you guys in the coming weeks?
More heavy hitters.
Nice.
Yeah. We've got great heavy hitters gameplay highlighting each of those heroes. And yeah, we're just trying to roll onto a more consistent schedule, like trying to give you guys 2 fight nights a month. So that's like every other week, just dropping content.
You hear that, game nights? 2 a month. It's a lot.
Hey, Flesh and Blood, like, let's go. We got to keep the train rolling, and there's just so much excitement around the game right now, and Sam, Jacob, and I were all super excited, and even though Jacob isn't in SoCal and he's off, filming in Atlanta,
things, yeah.
we're all just so excited about all these new cards, all these new decks, and the meta is so fun. Like, I showed up today, my back was hurting, and now I'm feeling cloud 9. There's a great day of great games, and like, I wasn't sure if I was gonna come out for it, but I was like, new meta, like I gotta be here for this.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I mean, hearing your locals saying you had to play more, so I mean, this is definitely giving that 7 rounds of Swiss experience.
And I gotta say, Sam showed me a little Discord message. Someone was like, "No one plays Dash in SoCal," and he said that you defended.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Blake is like, "No one plays Dash." I literally wrote, "This is Kwasneski Eurasia, bro."
No, I saw that, and when he showed that to me, literally, I was just so excited. And honestly, I think you were the deciding factor, because I was going to just come in and not know what I was doing with Kasai and just whatever. But yeah, that message and seeing you be like, no, Kwasneski's on Dash.
That's it. You gotta let him know.
I guess that's what's good.
Love that. Hey, bro, great to have you here in the booth, man. We'll have to see how top 8 pans out for you, but obviously great to see you play so far today. And looking forward to seeing what's coming up next for 3 Floating. We're going to take a break, announce our top 8. Quick break, switching streams. We'll switch streams for our top 8 for those that are new to that, and then we'll be off and running with those top 8 matches. Thanks for being with us so far. Mitch Leslie here with Aidan Kwasneski, 5 and 2, looking to make it in top 8. We'll see you guys after the break.